I'm striving to get rich. That's why I always went 2 years without buying shoes and fits. Things change now. My mom hearing me with my music and she look a little proud.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. APW Sports signing in, and welcome back to another Chicago Bears preview video. It is week 5 of the NFL season, and the Bears currently sit at 2-2 on the year. And we travel to Vegas to take on the Raiders, who just coming off of their first loss of the year as they stand at 3-1 on this season. And we're going to get into the predictions. We're going to get into the previews of everything in this contest. But leave this video a like, as that does help the channel to grow. And I make these types of videos, Bear preview, Bear reactions, and other news throughout the NFL. So if you like those videos, make sure you click that subscribe button and notification bell so you will not miss a single video that I post. But without further ado, let's dive into it. We start off with the Chicago Bears offense that is finally situated at the quarterback position, as Nagy previously has named Justin Fields the starter, not just this week, but for weeks going forward. So we know we have Justin Fields at the quarterback position. And in this game in particular, it is going to be a huge key as to who is calling the plays for this Bears offense. Is it going to be Matt Nagy, or is it going to be Bill Lazor? If it's Matt Nagy, you can pretty much cancel the ball game for the Bears this week. You can pretty much cancel that ball game because we've seen how he calls offense, and it's basic and bare bone. If we go into a Bill Lazor called offense, we're going to see shots down the field. We're going to see different ways of the RPO. We're going to see, I believe they need to have more quarterback runs designed in the offense, especially with Justin Fields running a 4.40, and they're going to incorporate the running game, and they're going to stick to it. But the problem with the Bears running game is Montgomery is out. David Montgomery is out for the next 4 to 5 weeks, and it's going to hurt us, I believe, in this contest. We also have Damian Williams dealing with an injury of his own. We're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. We still haven't gotten Tariq Cohen back. We did just trade for Jakeem Grant, who is going to help on special teams, which I think is going to have Khalil Herbert play more of a role at the running back position. But the key for this Bears offensive unit for this game, I believe, is you have to run the ball, because the Raiders' pass rush has been improving week by week, led by Max Cosby and also Yannick Ngakoue. They have both been improving so far this year. And last week against the Chargers, they were really getting after Justin Herbert. So I believe, especially the tackles in Ifedi and in Peters, they both have to play a significant game to keep those two at bay. And the Bears are going to have some chips, have some tight end blocking. And also, speaking of the tight end position, Kmet and also Jimmy Graham, I believe they have to play a bigger role in this offense than they have throughout the course of this entire season. Not just in the blocking game. I believe they have to incorporate those two more in the passing game. Because let's just face it, Jimmy Graham has more veteran rest days than he does catches. He has one this year, one catch. And that was in week 1. He hasn't had a single catch since then. Now, we all know Allen Robinson and Darnell are coming off of their best game so far this year against the Lions. And the Raiders secondary, let's just face it, is not very good, especially at the corners. The corners of the Raiders have problems. They have injury problems, and they are just not very good. So I believe if the Bears protect well, if the Bears solidify the offensive line up front, they can attack those suspect corners. But they also going to have to find ways to run the football, especially without David Montgomery. And at this point, as I'm making this video, we're not exactly sure on Damian Williams' status for this week. I'm assuming he's going to play. It's still up in the air, as in if Damian Williams is going to play in this ball game. The Bears have to keep those pass rushes at bay. They have to attack the secondary of the Raiders that has been very suspect, I believe. And the Bears have the weapons in order to capitalize on that. And Justin Fields, he has the ability to push the ball down the field, which, let's face it, we haven't really had. And especially with Nagy's scheme, it doesn't really happen. So I believe if Bill Lazor is continuing to call plays, he can really dial something up that really exposes a weakened Raiders secondary. Now, the Bears unit on the defensive side of the ball throughout the course of this year has been very good to almost elite defensively on the front seven, especially when you have guys like Robert Quinn, who was playing otherworldly this year. A big difference from what he saw last year. Khalil Mack has been a very productive guy. He's still playing like himself despite the injuries. Now, him and also Akeem Hicks have not really practiced this week, but it still remains up in the air to see if each one of those guys plays. Now, I do believe Khalil is going to play. It's remained to be seen if either one of those guys plays, but if they're out, that is going to hurt the Bears a ton. Now, Trevis Gibson, he stepped up big time last week with more playing time with Khalil Mack sideline doing his very injuries. We do have some depth there with Trevis Gibson stepping up and playing some really good football in his second year in the league. We're going to need more from Eddie Goldman because the Raiders' offensive line, let's just face it, they struggled last week against a very solid pass rush in the Los Angeles Chargers. They were getting after Derek Carr, and I believe if the Bears are able to get after Derek Carr and rattle him a bit, that is going to throw him off of his game tremendously. Now, the Raiders do have some weapons, and Hunter Renfrow, who I believe is a very solid slot receiver. They do have Henry Ruggs, who can basically take the top off of your defense. And I believe definitely they are top 3 tight end in the game, and Darren Waller. And they do have a very solid running back in Josh Jacobs, who can do some things in the running game. And John Gruden has this offense looking very explosive so far this season. And I don't think the Raiders have a true number 1 receiver, but the Raiders do have a combination of guys that make this offense so prolific. Now, if you're going to say number 1 receivers, we're probably going to say Darren Waller at the tight end position is Derek Carr's favorite go-to guy. And it's going to be interesting how the Bears are going to match up with him. I think they're going to put Roquan on him a little bit more because Roquan can keep up with him as far as speed-wise, even though I think Alec Ogletree is a little bit better in pass protection and pass coverage than we could say Roquan, even though Roquan is no slouch in that area. But I do think Alec Ogletree has just the slightest bit of an edge as far as pass coverage, and Roquan has the edge as far as athleticism to be able to keep up with a guy like Darren Waller. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Bears match up against Darren Waller. But I do think the Bears have the advantage in the front 4 in the pass rush because the Raiders' offensive line has been dealing with some injuries to Incognito, and they've had guys in and out of the lineup. Leatherwood has struggled for the most part this year. I believe if Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn are able to play together, they can really do some things in the pass rush game to get after the Raiders and get after Derek Carr and kind of rattle them a little bit. Now, my question is this Bears secondary going to hold up completely? Because Jalen Johnson is a stud. Jalen Johnson is emerging into a star corner in this league. He's emerging towards that. But the opposite side of him has been iffy, to say the least. Duke Shelley has had his moments here back and forth. Kilda Vendora has had his moments here back and forth. Tashawn Gibson, we're still not sure if he's going to be in the lineup or not. Deion Bush has had some moments. Eddie Jackson, for the most part, he's missed some tackles. He's messed up some coverages, but he has his moments as well. So a guy like a Henry Ruggs in this offense, Zay Jones has been playing well. Hunter Renfrow, I think, is the big key because he is able to do so many different things with his route running and his ability to catch the football out of the slot. And I think he's the real X factor of this Raiders offense because outside of Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow has been Derek Carr's go-to guy. So at this point, the Raiders offense has been very explosive. They've been very explosive in the air. The running game has struggled a little bit. Josh Jacobs has been in and out of the lineup in injuries. And as I said earlier, the offensive line for the Raiders has not been so great. But I think the Bears can take advantage, especially in a pass rush. And the secondary is going to have to step up and play better in order for the Bears to actually pull out a victory in this contest. So here's my 3 keys for the Bears to win this game. Number one, get after Derek Carr. Get after Derek Carr. Rattle Derek Carr, whether it's Mack, Travis Gibson, Akeem Hicks if they're healthy, Eddie Goldman up the middle, Bilal Nichols, Quinn. Those guys have to get after Derek Carr and rattle him. Because I think once you rattle Derek Carr and you get him off of his spots, he starts to, number one, anticipate hits, and that starts to throw off his rhythm in this Raiders offense. So the Bears are going to have to get at the Derek Carr and hide your secondary woes, because the Bears secondary has not been playing very well for the most part this season. So they have to get after Derek Carr and get this Raiders offense off rhythm. The number two key for the Bears, they have to find ways to incorporate Justin Fields' athleticism in this offense. Especially if Bill Lazor is calling plays, they're going to have to use a little bit more of the bootlegs, I believe, to offset a little bit of the pass rush from the Raiders. They're going to have to use a little bit more of the RPO, even though David Montgomery is out. And they'll have to use a little bit more of the zone read type of runs to use Justin Fields' athleticism as a weapon to slow down the Raiders' pass rush, especially when your offensive line, let's just face it, has had its moments where they struggle. So they have to use Justin Fields more as a weapon to help offset that pass rush. And the number three key is you're going to have to find a way to replace David Montgomery's production. Because David Montgomery, let's just face it, has been the absolute bell cow of this Bears offense. And he has been the identity of the Bears offenses so far this year. So you're going to have to find ways to replace the absolute production of a guy like a David Montgomery. Whether it's Damian Williams, whether it's a guy like Khalil Herbert, using him in more different ways. You're going to have to find ways to run the football in order for this passing game and the play action and all those things to work. So they're going to have to find ways to run the football and find ways to replace some of the production that David Montgomery has been giving them so far this season. But enough with all that. My prediction for this game will be, I'm going to roll with the Chicago Bears in this game. It's a tough pick for me because I do believe there is a way that the Raiders can win this game. I just believe with the Raiders offensive line struggles and the way that Sean Desai has been able to dial up pass rush so far this season, and especially if Khalil Mack is healthy, because we've seen Robert Quinn has been playing out of his mind, and Travis Gibson has been stepping up big time for this Bears defense. So I believe the pass rush can throw Derek Carr off of his rhythm, and I don't believe the Raiders running game can really do enough to offset that. Even though the Lions played well in the running game last week against the Bears defense, I just believe after a game like that, I believe the run defense is going to improve a little bit more. We're going to get more out of Alec Ogletree, in my opinion, and we're going to get Roquan flying all over the field. And offensively, even though we don't have David Montgomery, I just don't believe this Raiders defense is as good as a little bit advertised. Even though Yannick Ngakoue and Max Crosby has been playing well on the edges, I just believe this Bears offense can do just enough to overcome this game. So it's going to be a very close contest. Two teams that are competitive, even though I think the Raiders offense is just a slight bit more explosive. I think the Bears defense could do a little bit more to slow that down. And I think the Bears offensively, especially if Bill Lazor is calling plays, can do just enough to squeak a victory on the road. So I'm going to roll with the Bears on this contest, and I'm going to roll with the score of 17-14 in a very close contest. But that is all I have for you guys today. Make sure you guys leave this video a like. Do you guys agree with me that the Bears are actually going to win this game? Do you disagree? What are your thoughts about this game? Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. I do read my comments, and I want to continue this conversation on this upcoming Bears game going forward. And also, if you've gotten to this point, make sure you click that subscribe button and notification bell so you will not miss any of the videos that I put up on this channel. But that's all I've got. APW Sports signing out. Make sure you guys stay safe. Have a great and excellent day, and I'll catch you guys in the next vid. Peace.